Hello and welcome to our course Marketing Management Part 2. We are in week 3 and this is session 2. So, we have started talking about a very interesting topic which is brand, and we have looked into the definition of the brand in the previous session. So, I have tried to explain you the brand from the different perspective or through the different definitions. The first one was from American Marketing Association, where they define brand as a term, name, term, sign, symbol or design or a combination of them intended to identify the goods or services of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from those of competitors. So, this was one academic definition of marketing, and then we have also looked into the other definitions or the ways in which we can define marketing. Is that marketing is basically a firm's promise to its customer, and it satisfies the functional needs of the customer as well as it satisfies the emotional, self expressive and social benefits. In fact, the brand has been defined even beyond that, and it has been said that a brand is a continuum of relationship between an organization and its customer, where it is defined as an evolving relationship based on perception and experience that a customer has every time he or she connects to the brand. So, every experience of a customer with brand or different aspects of the brand basically is important in shaping the perception about the brand. Then we have looked into the role of brands in consumer purchase, and we have looked into the fact that there are certain situations where probably brand have a more important role to play, that when you have a limited information or you have to accept the information as such, their brand could be a critical factor in the decision making. When your perceived risk is high, when you have a limited information, there also in those kind of buying situation, the brand could have a very important role. And we have often seen that in such situation where the perceived risk is high and customers lack much of the information regarding the product category, they often rely on the brands more than anything else. Then we have also seen where the consumer perceive lesser difference in various offering, there probably the role of the brand probably may not be much. Then you see when you have a limited time, effort and expense to acquire an evaluation of various brands are high, their brand also have important role. Then we have also looked into the benefits to a seller, that it helps in identifying the maker of the product, simplify the product handling, organize accounting, offer legal protection, signify quality, create barriers to entry, which is a very important aspect of brand, that it is an intangible assets, and that is a very hard as a barrier for competitors to overcome. Then I have talked about the top brands which are present. This was basically Interbrands 2015 ranking of top 100 brands. I have talked about the top 10 brands from that ranking, and I have shown to you that some of these brands, how much value they add to their organization. So, then we have looked into the fact that if we talk about branding, what exactly branding means. Branding basically means that you are adding extra value to any product. So, you take any commodity and whatever extra that gets into it is coming from the brand. Then we have looked into the categories or the types of offering which can be branded. So, we have looked into the almost everything that can be branded, starting from physical goods to services, stores, person, places, organization and idea. So, I have talked about in detail about each one of them in the previous session. You can go back and have a look, and then I have I have talked about what is brand equity. Now, today I am going to start with this strategic brand management process, like how as an organization this branding is being done inside any firm. So, there are 4 steps as you can see in the slides, and inside that each of the steps you have a certain things to do, or you try to do certain things, the key concepts you try to implement in these four of each of these four steps. So, the first step is identifying and establishing brand positioning. If you recall from MM1 course, that you will understand branding is basically creating a unique and valuable image in the minds of the customer about the firm's offering. So, that is what positioning is. The broad definition of positioning and how do you create this positioning is, the first thing that you have to understand in the case of positioning is that you have to understand who is your target customers, or you have to first look into the market, try to understand the different needs in the market, you have to segment the market. Once you understand the different needs in each of the segments, I mean like you segment the market based on the needs, then you will identify the specific needs of a particular segment. And once you understand in that particular segment how the various competitive offerings are placed and where is the gap where you can have you can come out with an offering which will have a unique and valuable space, that is what that is how you identify the positioning, the suitable positioning for your product. And for this, when we look into the process, we have to create a mental map. We need to whenever we talk about it, is always a competitive frame of reference. So, positioning is always relative. Your offering has to be looked into with respect to the competitive offering, and you will see that when we talk about the competitive offering, it could be the direct competition from the within the product category, the different brands available, or it could be a competition from the similar kind of product which satisfy the same need. So, your competition can come from the maybe from if you are supposedly you are a taxi service company. So, your competition can come from another taxi service provider, but your competition also comes from the railway, your competition also comes from the intercity transportation things, and your competition can also come from the airlines. So, that is what this competitive frame of reference is. You have a direct competition and you have indirect competition, and that has to be kept in the mind. Then the next thing that comes inside it is this point of parity and point of difference. If you can recall that to establish a positioning, you have to first establish that a product or the brand belongs to a particular product category. Every product category, generally we see there are certain kind of unwritten norms, in the sense there are certain characteristics to every product category. Like if you see this tomato ketchup or the sauce category, you will find almost all the brand comes in the red color. So, if you bring a yellow sauce in the market, yellow color tomato sauce in the market, maybe customer will show a extreme level of reluctance to that kind of offering, because they will believe that this does not belong to that product category. So, establishing the point of parity within the product category is a very important. It alleviates the risk in the minds of the consumers which are related with the product. Then the second thing is, once a product is like on par on most of the attributes that all the other brands have in that product category, the next thing is that you establish the point of difference, like how your offering is different from the rest of the competition, and that is what the differentiation is critical to this branding process. Branding is all about the differentiation, and that differentiation has to be perceived by the customers. So, to establish that differentiation, every brand try to have a certain kind of core brand values and brand mantra, in the sense like you try to the brand, what this brand does. So, what is the promise of the brand, what is the core benefit of that brand, and then what is around that brand. So, these things actually help you in identifying and establishing brand positioning. The next thing is, how do you execute? This is all about the planning process, or the mental structure in which the way you want to execute your positioning. But how do you basically execute this positioning in the market is that you have certain marketing program for branding, and so that is the plan in action. Inside this, the branding can be executed in three ways. The first thing is that mixing and matching of the brand elements. So, you you have certain brand elements, we will talk about them in detail, like the symbol, the logo, the various other things which are attached with that brand. By looking at them, you recognize about the brand. So when you see that the sign of about that Nike, and you recognize, oh, this is the brand Nike, so that is basically one of the brand elements. You also see the bottle shape of Coca-Cola, and without even the symbol or the Coca-Cola trademark written over there, the brand name written there, you can recognize just by looking at the shape of the bottle. So those are some of the brand elements which help you in recognizing the brand. That is one way you can make your brand being aware, the customer being aware about your brand. The next thing is that you integrate brand marketing activities. Inside this, you have a you can understand, traditionally when we talk about the integrating brand marketing activities, we are talking about the 4 P's, that is product, price, place and promotion. How the products, I mean like the offering itself, how its price, and the place of the distribution and the communication programs, they can also be very critical. They are generally very critical in establishing the brand, and that has to be, all the elements of this marketing mix have to be integrated, so they convey the coherent message or the coherent positioning about the brand. The next thing is that sometimes or many times secondary associations are leveraged, so that you attach your brand, or your brand is perceived being attached with a certain other object or entities, and that helps in transferring the similar kind of perception that you have about that entity or the object getting transferred to your brand. So when you see that Bank of Baroda, in the Bank of Baroda advertisement, the Rahul Dravid, because he is a dependable person, the bank also gets that kind of perception, or the similar kind of a trait is being transferred in the minds of the customer about the Bank of Baroda, that it is a very dependable or trustworthy bank or trustworthy brand where you can place your money. So the next thing is that which is there in this brand management process is measuring and interpreting brand performance. So there are different tools and there are different ways in which you can understand you can measure and interpret the brand performance. So these are basically brand value chain, brand audits, brand tracking, brand equity management systems. We will talk about some of these, and then inside it we also look into sometimes the brand valuation, how it is moving over the period of time. And the last thing inside this strategic brand management process is grow and sustain brand equity. So inside this you have the brand product mix. These are the things which are related with how basically your brand is doing in the market. So once you measure and track the performance of the brand, you can see from where you can grow, where you are not doing well, or possibly your sustainability at question. So you find out the ways so that you can grow in the future, or you at least you can maintain the similar kind of performance in the future. So this is what the 4 steps of strategic brand management is. Then I have introduced this concept of customer based brand equity in the last class, which is commonly abbreviated as CBBE. Can be defined as the differential effect that brand knowledge has on consumer response to marketing of that brand. So consumer based brand equity is that looking at a brand's equity from the customer's point of view, what makes from a consumer point of view, what makes a brand to function or what makes a brand to work. So there are three elements inside this definition. As you can see that there is a differential effect in the behavior of the consumer as they know about the brand. So brand knowledge is at the core of this customer based brand equity. When a customer understands about a brand, or he recognizes a brand and he has a certain kind of image in the brand, that creates a differential effect in the way the customer perceives a brand, and this differential effect gets reflected into a certain kind of varying response from the consumer side to various marketing programs. I have tried to basically explain this concept of customer based brand equity, or how brands actually works on the customer side through this slide. As you can see that once the first thing that that for a brand to work is that a consumer has to be aware about a brand. So, first thing is that once you know a brand, then the next thing is that if you know something, what kind of image you have in the mind about that brand. So, the second thing is the brand image. So, depending on what kind of image you have, a positive image or probably you have a negative image, that actually affects your cognitive and the affective information processing part and your evaluation of the different brands. So, this brand image is basically with respect to the other offerings in the market or the other available brands in the market, and you have your cognitive and the affective information processing process in the minds of the customers that basically help you finally in deciding whether you will prefer a brand or not. So, finally that that gets reflected in the preference towards a brand. So, if a brand has a very distinctive, valuable and strong image in the minds of the customer will show a very high brand preference or a greater propensity to purchase that brand. He will show extreme level of loyalty to that brand, or probably they will be ready to pay more. Your trade partners will be ready to accept that brand compared to other competitive products in the market. So, these are some of the things which help you to understand how the brand works. Then coming on to this part, how do this knowledge, the brand knowledge gets created in the minds of the consumers. So, there is a framework called associative network memory model which exists in the market, and in this associated network memory model you can understand there are two things which are important to understand, is that at the center you have a brand node where that information about that brand is kept, and associated with that brand is there are certain brand association which are attached with this brand node, is I have shown in the form of brand 1 association 1, brand association 2, brand association 3. So, that there could be n number of brand association which are attached with a particular brand or a brand node. So, these are the brand associations, and at the center you have the brand node. Now, I will try to explain you this concept of associative network memory model through an example. These days this brand is has gained a lot of prominence in news, in the business news, that Patanjali has become a 5,000 crore brand. Its sales is almost close to 5,000 crores. Now, if you look at this brand, so Patanjali is, if a customer has know about this Patanjali, so there is in the mind of a customer there is a node where they have this brand name getting registered, or they recognize this brand Patanjali. Now, when I talk about Patanjali, there are certain kind of associations that comes in the mind of the customer, that Patanjali is linked with this being Ayurvedic product. So, whenever you think of Patanjali, it comes out that it is an Ayurvedic product, it is a harmless. Then you have this the second association that might come in the minds of the customer is authenticity about this brand. So, this is about the purity of this brand. It is like one of the core brand values of this brand, that it promises to be pure. And then third thing that quite often is very important these days is like because in the various social media space and that floating the messages that Patanjali being the Indian brand and people should prefer it. So, that is also one kind of association compared to other FMCGs. And then the third thing, the fourth thing that comes as an association is the trust that is being placed in this Patanjali, that no adulteration, nothing harmful is inside. Then Patanjali is also associated with very what you say is very honest price, or prices which are very much in the reach of a middle class of the most of the middle class of the country. So, you see there is a brand which is attached in the mind of the customer, and whenever a customer recall Patanjali, there are certain kind of associations that emerges in the mind of the customer. So, this is how a brand actually works or functions in the mind of a customer, that there is a brand node which is registered in the mind of the customer, and whenever that a customer can recall and recognize that brand node, there are certain kind of association. Now these associations which are there in the mind of the customers, they help creating a certain kind of image in the mind of the customer. Overall, if you attach, or if you take the whole sum of this different associations which are attached with the Patanjali, you customer forms a certain kind of image. Now this image is basically placed with respect to other competitive offerings, and this placement of this Patanjali brand with respect to other competitive offering in the that FMCG sectors help a customer to decide which brand he should prefer, or the preference for him or her about the brand Patanjali. So with this I will stop here, and when we will meet in the next session we will talk further about this branding. Thank you.